So nothing wrong with starting projects and then probably never finishing them. That's my immediate, defensive nature here. Um, so yeah, I guess that
Yep.
I don't know when this is ever going to get uploaded, but at the time of recording this, it has been quite a few months since the last time we've updated Wizard Kid. We're partway through Prisoner of Azkaban and just kind of stopped. Don't know what the plan for that is, and there is a vague plan to do something similar with Animorphs in the future. No idea when that's going to happen. And so here's we will watch movies and talk about them. And it's
Yeah.
like,
So, um, I feel like my part to say in this is, ever since I started talking to Josh, there was a lot of exchange of like, oh, you should play this game that I really like that you haven't tried, and I can guide you through it. And there's a lot of LPs on my channel that like that. And in a similar vein, there's lots of movies that I've never seen because I'm not really much of a movie person.
neither am
But
I.
neither is Josh. But you do have something of an affinity for animated movies, or at least you used to go and see like a lot of them, right?
Yeah, I guess I'll mention I've always loved Pixar. I saw as many of them as I could in the theater. It's not all of them. I guess, if we end up going through the entire catalog, I'll say which ones I did and which ones I didn't. The last one I saw in general, in the theater or not, was Onward, I think, which is quite a while ago. I think that was 2020.
Yeah.
And it's basically just because I used to always go see him with Martin, and now we're not living together, so it just kind of hasn't happened. And I do want to see all those other movies, even the poopy ones. I know Lightyear is not very good, apparently, but yeah.
And so, I've seen some of the Pixar movies and some other animated movies, but it was all like when I was a kid. I've seen like Finding Nemo, and I've seen Shrek 2 from DreamWorks and all this, but I saw them like once, a long time ago, and I was a kid, so I don't really remember them. So even when I have seen something, there's not going to be much. I think I've caught bits of at least Toy Story 2, if not Toy Story 1. I think I've seen little bits of both, just kind of when it was on TV, but never sitting and giving it my full attention.
Okay.
So I'm interested to actually sit down and go through a lot of these, and yeah, we're basically just gonna we're about to watch it.
Yeah,
and then
you can
afterwards we'll give our thoughts about the movie.
you can tell from the length of the video this is not a let's watch. I know some people like doing those. I was never the biggest fan because
They're a little annoying to set up.
it's annoying to set up, and like I don't know how many people actually bother going through that, and I can't imagine that just listening to, an hour and a half of occasional remarks on a thing happening that you can't see would be, so there's basically no value to just watch it on its own.
Yeah.
So not planning on doing those. I feel like it's just too much effort. I just would like to do this thing where we kind of talk about it beforehand, watch it, and then talk about it afterward.
Yep.
And so if we end up doing a bunch of these, which I'm not opposed to, I imagine we would get through a lot of Pixar movies, DreamWorks, other just animated stuff. I don't know if we'll actually do any live action stuff, but maybe.
Yeah, we're currently thinking of in the short term. We're just looking at like a bunch of these animated movies, and that alone is going to be like dozens of potential episodes of this. So maybe one day we'll also do like, I think we said that we're interested in like doing Back to the Future potentially, but I don't know if that would be part of this series. That's just a movie I haven't seen that Josh likes. And there's a few other things like that.
I feel weird even saying that because I didn't see it for such a long time, but I mean, it is a good movie.
You still have seen them and liked them.
Yeah.
So don't hold your breath, but at the very least, look forward to some Pixar stuff, hopefully.
So, I guess you have already pretty much said that you don't have much of a relation to this movie, but you're at least...
Yeah.
I mean, you at least know it from culture, yeah.
Yeah, toys are secretly alive, and they get up to hijinks when the kids aren't looking. Woody's a cowboy. Buzz is a... like, what would you call it? Like
I believe the word you're searching for is Space Ranger.
Okay, he is a space ranger. Um, and I know there's some conflict between those two. I think that's the main conflict of the movie, right? Is like Woody versus Buzz, kind of. I know that at the end of the movie, the conflict turns into like, here's this kid next door that like Frankenstein's his toys together into abominations. I don't know how it gets to that point, but yeah.
Yeah,
And then I know a little bit about the later movies as well.
I mean, that's more or less it. Yeah, it's, it sets up the world. You learn about Woody. Buzz comes
I
in.
know that
They butt
Buzz doesn't
heads.
know he's a toy. He thinks he's the real Buzz Lightyear, and that's like part of it as well.
Right. Um, and we can get into that whole thing later because the whole premise of Toy Story is fucking weird. But
It kind of established a weird pattern for Pixar where they were known early on as being the studio that was like, we make movies about what if these, animals and or inanimate objects were like human, had human intelligence. Which
kinda.
talking animals is nothing new, but I feel like it was like they really leaned into it as like their shtick. Um,
Yeah, their fourth
at
movie
least
was
that's the
Monsters
impression.
Inc., which is not really either of those, but it is still non-human characters.
And I think the reason for that was because they did CG animation and CG humans early on did not look great, so they
Yes.
focused on non-humans
So,
explicitly for that
so
purpose.
that's the thing is, this isn't even my favorite Toy Story movie. I think I like two better, but this movie is very dear to me. I saw it when it was brand new. Saw it two or three times while it was in the theater, which I almost never do. I never really saw the point of
Okay,
that. But
you'd have been
I I saw
just
it.
about seven then.
I saw it once, just with my grandma, and then we went another time with a friend of mine. It might have just been those two times. And I'm sure I saw it on video, like, a couple times after that. But then where I really started, seeing it 50 billion times was when I started having younger brothers, especially Jonah, would just play the same movie every day, sometimes multiple times in the same day. And it's like, dude,
What kids do apparently for some
like, I
reason.
don't get it. But, it certainly embedded itself into my brain. I could probably quote about 80% of the movie accurately. It's and it's there's certain movies where that would happen, and I didn't care about the movie at all to begin with, like the Power Rangers movie. I can quote stupid stuff from it sometimes, but I don't like the
Beethoven
movie.
second.
Yeah. Beethoven second I have a soft spot for, but Toy Story is just a good movie. I wouldn't choose to watch it 200 times, but the ending is still, still kind of gets me. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, as far as the technology goes, of course, this was the first, full length CG
Yeah,
movie.
I don't actually really know what
Uh,
Pixar's history was. I know that it used to be that people would mix them up with Disney because Disney then acquired them, but I don't know if that was before they made Toy Story or afterwards or when exactly that happened.
I'm not 100% sure either because they made a lot of shorts before this, but I don't know where exactly those would air. It's not the type of thing where, like,
Probably like film festivals and stuff
yeah, I don't think they were ever
or
really
like
attached to a
conventions.
movie studio. I could be wrong about that. And then
Because you
this
see like
movie
you see like
was,
indie game developers nowadays just uploading to like kind of these smaller communities of like check out my game. It's probably the same sort of thing where it's like check out this short movie we made.
yeah, and it's like this movie was published by Disney, but
Hmm.
they were still two separate entities. And I don't know at what point Pixar basically became part of that. It was definitely after this movie though.
Yeah.
And it was cool. For a long time, I like before CG became the norm, and like you never saw 2D stuff anymore. It was a really cool novelty to see something like this. And whenever you know 3D animated movie would come out, I would want to go see it because I thought it was neat. And there was a point in time where I considered that as like something I might want to get into in the future. But
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, the first one, it is very good for its age, but my God, do the human characters not look good? And holy shit, does Scud not look good? Sid's dog.
I don't even know who that. Oh, okay.
The
I
dog
know. I know
is
that it's.
horrifying. Like,
I know that it's. the thing is, even nowadays, humans often get massively stylized in 3D movies, even now that it's more
Yeah.
possible to like make them look realistic. So, I don't think of the Toy Story humans as looking necessarily that bad just because they're unrealistic.
I mean,
They just
yeah,
kind of
it's
they're maybe a little uncanny, but they worked with the style, and a lot of movies don't even look that different nowadays if they're animated.
yeah. That's the thing is you gotta find a style where it doesn't fall into the uncanny valley, and I don't think that this
Mhm.
movie does, but they definitely look plastic.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably all I have to say, and like
Yeah, I
for
can't
the
think of
moment.
anything else really. Yep. So I guess we'll see you after the cut with our fresh thoughts and opinions right
Yeah.
off the end of the movie.
I'm trying to think the last time I've actually watched Toy Story 1. It's
For the record, when I would have seen the bits on TV would have been about 10 years ago.
okay. For me, it's probably about the same. I've watched reviews and stuff, but as far as like actually seeing
Mhm.
the whole movie, yeah, it would have been when one of the kids watched it, and that would have been like no later than 2011, probably even before that.
Okay.
Anyway, see you after the movie then. The dark deed has been completed.
Yeah, it turns out we accidentally watched Jumanji instead, so we're going to talk about that. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Another movie with dated CJ.
Yep. I haven't seen that one either.
95, I think, or at least close to it.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, let's start with that. Good movie. Hot take of the year.
Yeah.
uh,
I don't know if it's I don't know if there's too many detractors for this movie. I've heard a couple who don't like the second, which is weird to me because I think that one's even better. But
so I didn't take any notes or anything, but I'm just gonna rapid fire the things that are immediately like something I had something to say about.
okay.
Which is
I'll also
I
mention
mentioned,
real quick, I had to interrupt at several points to just be like, there's a thing I quote all the time, or here's a stupid thing to nitpick on. But
yeah. The something that I point out during the movie is that I saw a little bit of the movie. I think the part that I saw was the Pizza Planet part because I remember them being at the gas station and being like, "Oh no, we got to get to Pizza Planet." I thought that was near the end of the movie, or it was maybe even in the second movie. I didn't know where in the two. I knew it definitely wasn't from the third one, but yeah, I wasn't sure where it was from. It actually came way earlier than I expected. That's not interesting.
yeah,
It's something I have to say. And most of my thoughts are actually around Sid, because well, and kind of the role of the villain in the story.
Sid is an interesting character, but
yeah, because the thing is that he plays the part of the villain in the toy schemes. He is built up early as a big threat. He directly threatens
it's a combat
the fate of the
Carl.
characters. Directly threatens the fate of the characters. This movie is like 90% Woody and Buzz going on an adventure to try to get home, and that's like a common, I would say, kids movie trope is these two are lost somewhere and they got to get home, but they don't get along and they got to work together. It's a tried and tested formula, works well here. Probably a progenitor of it. I don't know if
it's also I always think of Shrek. Well, actually, no, Shrek is a little different. Yeah, because in Shrek, Shrek and Donkey don't get along at first either, and then the
characters not getting along is one thing, but specifically the idea of like needing to work together to get out of somewhere.
I was thinking like it's nice that this one doesn't have the like what is it called, the third act breakup or whatever, where like things are going well but then something happens to make them fall apart, and then that happens for 10 minutes and then they split up.
Or I'm not feeling very super right now.
Yeah, because it's like that's definitely a thing in Monsters Inc. There's like it's the buddy cop movie except without the cop, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it. But
I mean, Woody's law enforcement, and so is Buzz, kind of. He's galactic law enforcement.
Yeah,
you could say it's a buddy cop movie. But yeah. So Sid, though, the thing is, that I don't really see much movie discussion stuff. So I don't know if I'm adding to the conversation here if people have already said this. I kind of feel like, Sid is not even really like a bad kid or anything. The worst thing he
Nah,
does is probably taking his sister's doll at that one point. And
yeah,
like, yeah, that's shitty, but I mean, kids do that to their siblings all the time. Like his, destruction of the toys and Frankensteining them together with his surgical stuff. Like, obviously we know that the toys are alive, and he eventually does by the end of the movie, which I'm going to touch on that in a minute.
right.
But he can't have known that, so that's just his creative expression. I don't really see anything wrong with that. That's how he likes to have fun.
Yeah,
he's fine.
I've seen people share that sentiment, and that is true.
Yeah.
Sid is, if anything, he's like, he's an edgelord, I guess.
Yeah.
But, he's being creative, and he is just being a kid. It's just, if anything, like, especially, like, when you see, like, in Toy Story 3, when Andy gets older, like, Andy's kind of just lame. Like, you don't really, like, he's, like, this perfect ideal of, like, the kid who just loves his toys so much. It's like, people aren't really like that. But, it works for the story.
Right.
Sid's a weird case, though, because, like, I don't know if this is, like, this cannot be a unique opinion, but I can smell Sid's house just by looking at it. Like, yeah, it's, he's got the fucking mangy dog. He's got the, like, the house just has this vibe to it. Like, even outside of his room, there's, like, you briefly see the room where, like, his dad's sleeping on the chair or whatever, and you've got the wallpaper with the ducks on it. The like, kitchen wallpaper looks like it has weed. Like, I don't know what's up with that. And then, yeah, Sid's room is just, like, this super edgy place, and it's just...
Well, he can't be older than, like, 12, right?
Yeah, I know, and it's just... Yeah, it's like, you can't really... I'm not sure what the right term for it is, but he's definitely, one of those kids. He's, like, the one the teachers have to look out for.
Yeah.
But...
Which, I kind of also get the vibe of, like, maybe his home life isn't so great. We don't see him actually interact with his parents much beyond just, like, calling, like, hey, your Pop-Tarts are ready. And I mean, that's, there's nothing strange in that interaction, but he just kind of seems like maybe
he's kind of just left to his own devices.
Yeah.
And, obviously they don't care that he's ordering these explosives, so...
Yeah, that's pretty questionable. I don't know how he's even doing that, because this is, like, basically pre-internet. Like, there was internet, but, like, barely. Right?
Yeah, he was probably ordering them out of a magazine or something.
Yeah. Which, again...
It's the same magazine that gave his I Heart explosive sticker that he put on the wall.
Yes. I like the I Heart explosive sticker and the skull shirt that gets dramatically zoomed into.
Right.
In the movie. And speaking of villains, I feel like the more pertinent thing to point out is Woody is the fucking villain of the movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like...
And have you heard about the original drafts?
No, I don't think so.
Woody was way more of an asshole originally. I don't know the specifics of it, but they've shown, like, storyboards and stuff, and I think, like, some test animations, and in the final movie, he, the whole beginning part where Buzz comes in and kind of, starts taking over and Woody's jealous, like, you can at least kind of see where Woody's coming from. You're not siding with him because you realize he's being petty, but you get why he's acting that way. And the worst thing he does is, like, I want to go to Pizza Planet with Andy. I'm going to try to knock Buzz behind the desk. And it's like, they'll find him soon anyway. But, I just want to get him out of my hair for a minute. And then, of course, it turns out to be much worse. But, yeah, I think, like, in the original draft, he was way more antagonistic. And, like, I've heard that, like, the movie would have bombed because he would have not been an enjoyable character to be following. Like, he's just an asshole.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they hit a good balance because he has kind of this, negative aspect to his personality that is very pronounced, and he's this very flawed character, which, screenwriting 101, you want to make your character not perfect because perfect characters are boring. Most of the time. There's kind of some nuance to that, but obviously, I guess they steered away from making him even worse. But yeah, the core idea is solid of having this protagonist that, to start with, is pretty much like he's in the wrong. He's selfish.
Yeah.
And he fucks up and causes all the problems in the movie, and comes around by the end, of course, but mostly just through circumstance. Kind of having to work with Buzz to get back.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, you know, the reason that Woody kind of turned around is partially out of self-interest, because, you know, he, not only does he want to get back to the room, but he wants to, like, clear his name, since the other toys hate him now.
Yeah,
but,
well,
like,
he's also been lying to everybody and to himself about, he's like, you know, I'm not jealous, and he doesn't have a good explanation, but eventually he drops it, and he's like, I can't keep this up, you know, I am just jealous, like, and that's it. And then Buzz is like, hey, you know.
But yeah, like I was saying, I'm not really sure what his turnaround is necessarily, because Buzz also has the character arc where, you know, he
he just realizes his nature, which is, wasn't really a character flaw. It's not his fault.
Yeah, he has the realization, goes through this depressive episode, then Woody kind of knocks him out of it, and then, you know, they team up to get out of the situation. It's like, I don't know if Woody really learned much of anything. There was no part of this where he's like, you know, I was wrong for being jealous, but, you know,
there's nothing wrong with his fundamental nature, I guess. It's just he, you know, made some bad decisions and then kind of regretted it, made it up to, you know, the person he wronged, and then that was it. There's no like core aspect of his character he really needed to like work on.
Because the other thing is, like, he didn't actually intend to knock Buzz out the window. That was an accident, but it was also like not far from what he was trying to do. So
yeah, it's a complicated situation. He's still at fault because it was. I'm trying to remember what it is. It's like I think in the law, if you're trying to do something illegal and then somebody ends up dead as a result of it, even if that wasn't your intent, that's still counted as murder. So like,
yeah,
it's a similar sort of situation here. Sid though, like, God, he's gonna get fucking traumatized. I can only imagine him screaming about the toys being alive and his, you know, parents just take him to the psychiatrist, and I do not see things going well for him in the immediate future. It's just pretty unfortunate.
We do eventually learn his fate. Not really.
Oh, really?
You know, not really, but
I'm guessing he just kind of makes a cameo as like a cashier in Toy Story 4 or something.
You're not far off. He is seen as a garbage man in the third movie.
Okay.
But yeah, it's, you know, that's it.
Oh, hey, those guys provide a valuable service.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to think about that, because that is, unless I'm misremembering something, that is the only moment in the entire series where they ever show their true nature to somebody. And I
suppose it kind of comes with the premise, is like it begs the question of it's a central tension. It's like they've got to keep this secret. It's kind of underlying through the whole movie, because the more important thing is the character conflict, but it is implicit about like, oh, every time someone shows up, you gotta hide. It kind of establishes like, oh, what happens if they don't, and then it's almost like a payoff, I guess.
Yeah. But like, there's a part when I always found this part kind of interesting, when Woody's devising the plan with all the like mutant toys to save Buzz or whatever. There's a part where he's like, we're gonna have to break a few rules to do this, but it should work. And it's like, it's kind of interesting the way that he says, like, you know, that these are rules that you can't show yourself to a person. Like, where does this come from?
Yeah, how does toy culture work? Because they're very isolated. They're almost like individual like islands in the Pacific Ocean or something. Right. Is probably the best comparison, you know, pre-colonialization. Like,
and you know, you had to
stitch.
You had to pause the movie at one point to ask, like, you know, why does Buzz freeze up when Andy shows up if he thinks he's an actual space ranger? And there is no answer to that.
The movie has a few inconsistencies like that. Like, I swear there were other things I thought of throughout the movie where I'm like, why is this? I mean, there's little conveniences as well, which are just, you know, writing tricks. Like, oh, the Pizza Planet truck just happened to get to the gas station. The Buzz commercial just happens to show up on TV when Buzz is in the room. It's like, whatever.
The entire final, like, the climax where they're chasing the moving van.
Yeah.
Like, that whole... I fucking love that entire section, because it's just, you know, they come up with a solution, and then it fails. and then they come up with a solution and it fails, and this happens like 5 times, and it keeps staying
and
interesting.
the whole time you're waiting for the rocket.
Yeah.
As well, because it's super obvious if you are not a child. Like, Buzz is gonna fly, he's gonna use the rocket, Woody has the match. And then that doesn't work either, which is perfect. You gotta do that. You can't not do the thing you've set up, but you can't have it just be that's it. I mean, I guess you could, but it's more interesting if you add a further complication, right? So yeah. And that was a really long sequence. Like, I was expecting it to do maybe 2 or 3, like 2 or maybe 3 at most, like different ideas. I thought it was going to be they try one thing, they try another thing, and then the rocket. Instead, it was like they try like 3 things. The rocket is idea number 4, and then it's like it still doesn't quite work because they need the final 5th idea of the like focusing the light on the fuse with Buzz's helmet.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, a nice little callback to the thing with the magnifying glass. But yeah, I love that whole sequence, and it's like, at the end, oh no, they're gonna blow up. Not today. And his shitty plastic wings rip through the duct tape somehow.
Yeah.
And he flies. How does he fly? I have no idea.
He glides.
He shouldn't be able to glide like that. I don't know how he's doing it, but I don't care. It's cool.
Yeah.
The music swells, and you're like, oh, like, it's a happy moment. I love that part. I don't care if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it's a rule of cool, right?
Speaking of the wings doing things they shouldn't, again, I have a million of these little nitpicks, but well, there's the fact that the wings and the helmet should not be able to both retract into the toy at the same time. But I'm thinking of the part where he's falling with style. He has his wings extended, riding on the car, going through the loop-de-loop. There is no way that would work.
No, absolutely not. The car would need to be going...
Well, no, the wings are extended as he's approaching this loop. They would hit the loop. Like...
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
They had to cut the camera away just as it was about to happen, and then cut back to cheat it.
Right. Okay, I thought you were just saying he would fall off the car, which is also probable.
Probably, yeah, but
yeah, really, really fun movie. I think it's a strong showing, especially, and a strong sort of prove it. Like they really proved the worth of their creative team there, because they have a great premise and they do all the jokes that you would think of, and I'm sure that there are more that they do in the second movie and beyond. But
yeah, they make good use out of the fact that they're toys with weird properties.
Yeah, you gotta, right? You gotta milk it for all it's worth, and that's the fun of weird premises like this, is you get the chance to do stuff like that. So,
it's interesting. It's kind of interesting watching the first movie after seeing the later ones and realizing like how many of the side characters just never show up again, or at least like never in any like notable role.
Well, I know you said Sid is basically in the background. I assume there's no fucking way Hannah or the dog show up again.
No, none of that. None of them show up again. I mean, just out of Andy's toys, because like.
Oh, okay.
In the second movie,
Mr. Potato Head and Bo Peep are mainstays, at least, and Rex and Slinky
and Ham. Yeah, they're kind of like the main ones, and even Bo Peep even isn't, because she's not in the third movie. But
okay.
And it's like, I think RC continues to show up, but he can't talk. But it's like there's a lot of just kind of
spell.
There's a lot of background toys that I don't know if you ever see again. Like there's the snake and the robot. There's the little muscle man guy.
I thought it was supposed to be a Stretch Armstrong.
I don't think that's what Stretch Arm looks like. I don't remember.
I've never had one, so.
Oh man, his arms can stretch out to next week.
What?
I don't know. It was just a random thing from Family Guy. But
okay.
I feel like I have, just a million little stupid things to mention, but I don't know how interesting they'd be. It's like, if you care about the movie, you've probably heard them, like the army men carrying the wrong side of the baby monitor.
I could have sworn that I had a memory of seeing, like, a different scene involving the baby-headed spider mech thing. I thought that it, like, chased them around, like, the room a bit more, and there was like, but no, really, it's just Woody sees it under the bed, it crawls out, and they act scared of it, but nothing really like happens because obviously the thing is harmless. I could have sworn I remembered that being a major part of the end of the movie, but I guess not.
No, I don't. Maybe that was like a scene from a game or something.
Don't know.
Really
I've never
know.
played a Toy Story game, so.
Um,
I also didn't know Andy had a little sister. I've never heard her come up in any conversations about the
yeah.
movies.
I'm trying to remember if she's old enough to talk in the second movie. I
kind of figured that
she
not much
is.
time passed like in universe for the second movie, because I know the third one famously is like super far in the future when Andy's an adult.
Yeah.
But I kind of figured the second one was still Andy's a kid and everything.
Yeah, it might be like a year later. I think Molly is still a baby. I don't really remember for sure. I guess it's been too long since I've seen it. Yeah, it's like I keep thinking of little things, but the only other thing I'll really mention is just it's kind of funny how many just either minor side toys or like background elements are things that I actually had as a kid.
I was surprised by just how much product placement was in this.
Yeah, it's like, you know, there's a part where you can see like Mousetrap in operation.
Yeah.
There was Ants in the Pants. Like I had all those. I
Was
had that little
Mr. Potato Head a toy before Toy Story, or was it a Toy
Mr.
Story
Potato
toy?
Head. No, he definitely no. That's an old toy.
I don't know these things. I know that he's around now, but I wasn't sure if it was
Out of the main cast, I think he's the only pre-existing thing, other than the concept of a Slinky. But I don't know if there was a Slinky dog. But yeah, Potato Head was around for a really long time. I'm trying to think. I had like the Little Tikes fire truck that showed up at a couple points.
Yeah.
You know, there's the. I don't think I ever had like the little army men or the barrel of monkeys, but I was definitely aware of those. Just, you know, a lot of little stuff like that.
On the topic of nitpicks, I do have one other random thought, which is, and you know, I could dissect the premise of this movie all day, but I do wonder why exactly Buzz didn't know that he was a toy. And consequently I wonder if the other toys ever had adjustment periods, because the way that everyone, or especially Woody, reacts is like, he's like, how are you not getting this by now? Which kind of implies to me that everybody kind of just knows what their deal is from the start. The
weird thing is that Woody's the only one who really seems to care. Like, everybody else just kind of plays along.
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably bitch eating cracker syndrome. Like, he's already predisposed to hating Buzz, and he's just especially annoyed that he doesn't even realize what's going on.
Yeah. And it's like, we could theory craft and be like, you know, maybe it's because Buzz was specifically like engineered with this backstory and stuff, and like I assume they had like a TV show or something that tied in with it. But the thing is, that also applies to Woody, but that was back in the 60s, so maybe he just forgot. I mean...
So, hang on, what do you mean the 60s? Is this something that's established in a later movie? Like, is he a really old toy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he is completely unaware of it.
Huh. Alright. Well, I guess we'll have to see how that continues in you know, the Toy Story saga. I do know a little bit about the later movies, but we'll talk about that when we get to those. I'm not sure if anything that I had to say was of any value here, or Josh for that matter, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And I also don't know like when this is going up, if we're recording another one before this goes up, like, because I think it would be nice to do comments like we do with the other podcast type thing. But
true.
Let us know what you think, obviously. I had a good time with it. It's, you know, easy enough format. Just watch a movie, talk about it.
But Beans then, I guess. I don't know how to end this.